Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 8/7/25. We're here with David Purcell and Michael Kopp today. You guys might remember them from the conference footage from the various shows we did while we were there. Before we get started going into the meat of the conversation, I now open this circle to true benevolence and no conflicting agendas of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We pray for ourselves, our friends, our family, our loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love us and nourish us and bring us to our highest good. We ask now for benevolence to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it.
So be it.
All right. Yeah, doing that, I can just feel this clearing up. It was a rough day with some garbage that was around today, so that actually helped a great deal. This is going to be a very interesting episode, folks. It was slightly more, I should say, a little bit impromptu, but at the same time, we didn't really have a set topic, but the topics sometimes name themselves as time goes on, and this happens to be one of those times. It was something off recording, David, you actually brought up about post-conference kind of blues because of the higher energy and going down to a lower one, and it has been a riptide
And I think
since
some people may have been happily, in one sense, happily surprised because there was a little drama, as you guys know, at the conference. However, the energies were raised substantially. I would like to think that having the opening ceremonies and getting everybody's agreement to want that to happen helped. But I think, by the end of it, everyone there, much more so, believe it or not, than the first time around, a huge energy spike that occurred. And so we had our little bubble, and it was really nice. The problem is, you got to leave the bubble to go home. And so basically what happens is that, people may, of course, get kind of sad, depressed, maybe a little bit lost, a little bit whatever. But you need to remember the conference and the higher frequency, because I think what I try to explain to people is that, like we were just saying, it's like coming to the well to get refreshed, getting into some place that is higher vibrational. And then hopefully the goal is when you go back, if you can get yourself close to that, you've raised the frequency, you're raising the frequency around you, and then that hopefully spills over to people that you're around. And then everyone relearns how to raise their frequency and get into a better place. So it's an interesting topic. I think we experienced, I don't know if any one of you want to go into a little bit more of how it made you feel to leave and what's been going on these last few weeks for you in regards for this matter. But yes, it's a good thing that we were able to do it. And then, yes, people have to come back to their regular lives into areas that have varying degrees of energy just within them.
Right. For me, it was like literally running at like 200 miles an hour, then all of a sudden getting stuck behind a horse and buggy, which in my case was literal. I literally had withdrawals. I had physical withdrawals. I was literally shaking one day, and I was just like, oh my God, I miss everything. Why isn't it? Why is everything? Oh, hi, Audrey. I was literally shaking, and like it took me a little bit to like get myself back together. And over the next couple of days, like I had a lot of people wanting to do interviews with me, and I wanted to talk to them. So I was like still in that mode, but I'm also running back at home, and I'm like learning how to redo everything. And it's just the energy just could not sync up. And then I've also been working with a lot of people, working with people and helping them with their memory recoveries and stuff. So we got attacked bad the other day. Me and the other guy, we were just like wrecked. But it was just Like I said, even though the concert had its, little flaws, I'm so glad I got to meet everybody there. I'm so glad I got to talk to everyone. The amount of energy was truly nourishing for the soul. And I was like, want to keep that coming and bring it home with me as much as possible.
Mhm. Yes, Audrey, before we, what Michael's response is what we asked before, what we were talking about before is the withdrawals from the energy of the conference going into normal, regular energetic areas. On how people felt afterwards and then kind of the aftermath of that. Michael?
For me, it was interesting because starting the conference, I had my own little issues. And so I had to separate myself from that and settle in and be like, okay, here we go. And seeing everybody and interacting with everybody every day kept me with my energy up and kept me, being like excited and going. And then when I get home, I'm like, oh, I can't go to the table and see Chris or Joanna or uh, Gina or, and everybody. It's like all of a sudden it's like it hits you. God, I spent a week with these people and they were always there. And now they're on the other side of the screen again. And it's like that disconnect and it was like, yeah, it kind of lowered the energy a bit because I wouldn't say the energy lowered from the energy of the conference. I think it was the personal energy of intermixing with everyone that lowered because it was no longer available.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so it's like it kind of got a little sad and started missing everybody and being like, well, shoot, I can't go up and say, hey, how's it going? And interact. And spending a lot of time with like Tilly and Artemis was, a lot of fun. And then coming back to, I'm back to my own isolated sort of world of nobody around me in the disclosure. So back to trying to balance new routine of keeping the flow of the conference going, but then being like, I have no outlet for it. So back to shows and balancing back into that. And it was like, that was an adjustment. And honestly, I still think I'm still working on trying to balance all that out and get my natural rhythm and my natural high energy back to where it was like conference level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the same way. It's been rough. I came back with a bit of that high vibration still on me. Came back, and of course, I'm back to having to clear the property, doing my sessions, doing all that, and it's just it was like a brick to the face when we got home, and it was because it was all the interaction we had there, the beach. Well, I mean, we have the beach here, but it's different there, and had all the interactions where we could go talk to people, you guys, everything, and then we're back to our little isolated corners, and yeah, it was sad. I will agree. It was pretty sad. Audrey, what did you go through after conference?
When I came back, I was still feeling very highly energetic, but after I want to say a couple of days in, I started just getting a bunch of energy drain. So I know that I was probably emitting or absorbing or just being around that type of energy seemed to be like I don't know how do you want to describe it, but it felt really, really nice to just be surrounded by people who understand you, who are just in the disclosure movie that know what you're talking about, so you don't have to like deeply explain yourself. So that's nice. And I don't have a whole lot of people in my area from the disclosure community, so it was really nice just to be around. But coming back, I can see how much the energy has changed because I'm not around those people all the time, and you get to go back to your work life, and it's kind of extremely different, but it's sort of like I'm very adaptable, so it's like just a couple of days of sleep, I'm good, and I'm ready to go back to.
Yeah, yeah, it was like that. I used to live in Tempe, Arizona years ago, and my mother and my stepfather Laverne went to Sedona, met with them, went up from Tempe to Sedona, and then came back the same day, and or the next day rather. And that energy had saturated me a little bit from Sedona. Went back to Tempe. It was like I got hit in the face with a bat. So it was like, oh my God, what's this? And that's when I first started learning about the energy withdrawals from area to area to area. And I definitely felt it on this trip. Definitely felt. I know you did too. And I got home, I was all sorts of discombobulated, but still had to get shows uploaded, still had to play catch up. And when you, Audrey and David were on that show saying, "Oh, Chris will get this up next week," I went, "Crap!" And then went, no, I went, got things
Yeah,
edited.
you uploaded a lot last week, a lot. I didn't expect you to do that. Like you were doing it like nearly every day, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
caught it all up. I was like, "Oh crap!" And I had to ran in the room. They said it would be up next week, and I ran into the other room and
Well, I
started editing.
appreciate you
Yeah,
guys set that fire under his butt to
yeah.
get that stuff out. So he would have taken a little more time. But it's a great conversation because I think there can be a lot of confusion around it because we are scattered to the winds. We really are. I think everyone has recognized that over the years, that it's hard to have a neighbor, right, who's like you. And something we've been saying for years, that instead of disclosure starting at one place and expanding like this, it's not going to work that way. It's going to be a pilot light here, pilot light there, pilot light there. And so some of us, where we are, where we're standing, potentially can be the beginnings of those pilot lights and what you kind of do in your own community. But everyone's caught in this place like, well, yeah, but I don't want to do it unless I have all these like-minded people right around me. Do you see what I mean? But I kind of try to say, but you don't understand, it's an energy thing. And so, your energies. And so going to conferences like this, for some people, they'll come back and they'll get depressed and just stay depressed. The goal is, if you go to conferences like this, you can remember how to get to a higher frequency, even just within your lovely self, closing your eyes, daydreaming how that energy felt, daydreaming, what it's going to be like again, right? Because we want the next one to be as successful. And then you start as a pilot light, spilling out that energy and start to change the energy dynamics around you. So I think what I've seen, if you guys are on the disclosure, I think we all are on the disclosure things, and we've been seeing some turmoil. We've been seeing some turmoil in the threads. And again, and some people have the mindset that the energy is only going to come together if this group is meat and is solid and all of this stuff, and that's the only way. Well, it's not the only way. What people have to try to remember is that they need to focus keeping themselves in that higher vibrational and remembering how to get back and forth to it, not necessarily paying attention to some of the other issues that are going on.
Any of the drama, yeah.
To the best that you can. Again, there's no judgment going on. It's just trying to give a different perspective. The goal is going to be to try and remember how these feelings and these frequencies, so that you can on demand take a time out to put yourself there. And then that helps you, the environment you're in, and that starts to spread. And then as little events start to happen, we may find again that we went to this one, but there's going to be this other interesting one in another area, and this other interesting conference in another area, and these other things that are going to go on that we'll start to become a part of, to also set and reinforce a pilot light there that hopefully then will spread out, and it's going to work more like that. So I guess it's one of those situations where open your mind that not all of the eggs have to be in one basket in one place to be able to, accomplish that. And it is a lot of self-work and self-remembrance. It's like we would always say to people, if you can't remember what joy feels like, go out and buy yourself a couple of yellow stones because yellow vibrates joy. And I'm like, just hold them, clear your mind and hold them. And I had somebody do that when they're like, well, all I'm thinking about is puppies. Do puppies bring you joy? Yes, I love puppies. There you go. It's working. So because again, it's trying, sometimes the stones and different things will vibrate that frequency that you have forgotten how to get there. You've forgotten how to put yourself in. And with all the craziness in the world around us now, that's where a lot of people sit. This, what just happened, was even a little bit more than that simple one that anyone could do. Go get yourself some yellow stones and sit with them, because I think it really showed all of us, I hope, that's how I felt. Wow, we can do this. That's how I felt. I'm like still excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great and we can do this. You know what I mean? That sense of we are the ones we have been waiting for and we can find our way through this and do this. So I kind of am like probably again more of a your perspective on it, right? On the goals of what we want to achieve as far as unity, things like that. So I'm kind of an optimist about it, but love to talk about it because again, you could just be interacting with people that don't know anything about disclosure. But if you can keep yourself in that higher vibrational, you're going to impact them in a very positive way, just regular life. And that's kind of, I think, part of the goal of that, again, renewal coming to the trough, let's say, and, doing our best. Because I don't know about you guys, but instead of saying, I don't want to do this anymore. My idea is like, can't wait to see everybody again. This is great. Can't, you know what I mean? Can't wait to talk to people. Can't wait to do what we're doing right now. Can't wait to do it because I really have a lot of faith in all of us, that we can understand this and move ourselves forward in all of this.
I agree completely with what you said. I really do. I think you said it wonderful. And yeah, I've been trying to do that when I can, but there's also the reality that just certain people around me just don't care. And you have to, that's the thing of like, don't waste your, don't you give your energy to somebody. If it doesn't work out, move on to something else. And that's what kind of a balancing act for me. Fortunately, my neighbors now are pretty cool people. I get a little crap every now and then from going to a ET disclosure thing, but I'm like, I met some great people, so it's totally worth it. And you're just jealous that you got to be here when I was in Florida, so nah.
Exactly. Exactly. We don't know our neighbors, so it's like it kind of helps sometimes if we don't know them, then they can't give us crap. Yeah. So, uh,
What I find interesting and I enjoy is meeting everyone at the conference. It's like I get to see people who are on my shows in person, interact with them, people whose shows I've been on, interact with. And then when I got back, I was telling my mom that, it was really cool how you two came and found me and were like, hey, we're doing some shows, I know the conference is on. We'd love you to have you on. I was like, it felt really special and like, wow, they sought me out. That's really cool. And I've had other people who are doing panels talking about the conference and the after, and it's like I'm finding more people reaching out that normally wouldn't reach out because they're like, we don't know you. We don't know your story. And it's like interesting how even though we didn't talk much, they're like, you were there, so we're gonna include you. And so it's like, wow, that it's really cool how the community is like rallying around and like trying to keep it going without being present in that space.
hmm Exactly. Exactly. What do you think, Audrey?
Going to the conference, meeting everybody, it was like the first time that I actually became a social butterfly.
Yeah, you were.
hmm
And I'm always like in the background, but it was so nice to be a social butterfly and then coming back here. Um because I'm more of a spiritual research channel, so I was getting a bunch of like little voices like you should talk about this and educate your audience about this. You should remake this video. You should talk about this. So I was just getting a bunch of wonderful ideas of like how to like expand my YouTube channel, and I've been growing a lot more on TikTok. I've noticed by doing YouTube shorts, I've been getting a lot more followers, is just trying to advertise more of my old videos. TikTok is really the gate, is really like has opened up the floodgates. It's just that I have to figure out how to like clip the videos. If no one's talking within 2 seconds of the videos starting, people will scroll past the video. So I have to like shave it down to make sure that I'm like talking as immediately as they're like scrolling. But yeah, there is a hunger for this. There is a thirst for this on TikTok and other social media. People want authentic. They're sick and tired of the clickbait stuff that they see on social media, and they only get the surface level information that they get from more of the popular because it's all regurgitated information. So they're looking for new, they're looking for fresh, they're looking for it out there, and it's coming. It's just very slow, and it's just that we just have to figure out that niche of the algorithm on YouTube and TikTok and other social media that will eventually get our story out there very, very well.
Yeah, I gotta, it wasn't at first, it wasn't my wheelhouse to do things like that. And then a friend of mine noticed that he goes, "You have way too many hashtags on there." Really? And he goes, "You should have 5 on there." And he counted, he goes, "You had 50 on that one." I'm like, okay. He goes, "They will actually block you if you do this and do that," and slows down. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go adjust it. And it's like, but I didn't really know a whole lot about that. I'm going to start creating shorts too, like of different questions that were answered and all this other stuff on a lot of the Q&As and all that other stuff. But yeah, I'm going to start doing that to get the right messages out there and get that going, because I get on, I'm one of those that gets on the YouTube account and actually sees where like if the analytics are low or something like that, be like, well, crap, what did I do? Or what didn't I do? But yeah, it wasn't really my wheelhouse to start.
Um,
Yeah. Hmm? What was that?
oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you spoke. Okay. Yeah, it just wasn't my wheelhouse. I was more into the energetic side and not necessarily, I was technical, but at the same time, part of that after the accident, part of that got kind of shoved out of my head. After I had the near death experience, it was more the etherical that was in my head. Now I'm having to balance that back out and reground all that and now get back into the technical. And that's actually rough because I'm about maybe 10, 12 years out of date on some of the stuff that I did prior. Because I did computer stuff a lot before I got hurt. And then when I got hurt, my brains got jostled a little bit, and all I had was this confusing like oatmeal for a little bit, and then I started that side of me really started opening up more, and then now I'm getting back into the more the technical side. I have to be able to run our YouTube channel. So now it just took a while for all the dust to settle and all the marbles kind of just get back in place and the bolts retightening, all that other stuff. And now I'm actually grounded at that spot where I can do that. But it took since 2009 to accomplish that. So it took quite some time for me to be able to shake everything, put it all back in place. So it was actually quite difficult, and I didn't realize how ungrounded I actually was during all that time and how I was integrating back into the world of technology. I just had to come at it from a different angle. I went in school for film, went in for computers, went in for Photoshop, all that other stuff. And now I'm having to turn it back around and come at it from a completely different angle. And it's really weird. It's how Spirit is actually showing me, and different ETs are showing me, hey, this, you have to come at it from this platform and you'll look at it from a different perspective, and how to do it. And it's like, okay, it could have been slightly less rough on how to accomplish this, but Spirit felt it necessary to brick wall me to get that to happen. But it worked. It is actually working. I'm actually not just staring at my computer going, duh, and it's actually working now. I can actually get into the spot where I'm getting back into the swing of things.
Well, what's interesting to me too is coming back like this week with shows. I really got the opportunity to step back and look at, and like David was saying, he got targeted with something. Well, I feel like I've been targeted, but not the same way. And this week really showed me my Tuesday night show's guest got triggered, so she couldn't come on and didn't tell me until the next day. So I was like, well, thanks. I, could have done something if I'd known this, but I get it. And then my last night's show, my guest got targeted. And so I sat there and I realized I'm not being targeted directly. They're targeting those around me to get to me. And so I just wanted to share that because I know some people sit there and are like, well, I'm not being targeted because they're not doing anything to me, but they don't look at what's going on around them and saying, yeah, you are being targeted, just not the way you think you're being targeted.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that as well, right when I started my YouTube channel about a year in, I noticed drastically my parents being affected. Like they would be extremely irritated. And that was like basically my sign, like, oh, I need to leave. And I get attacked very differently. Um, just the other day, like right when I came back from the conference, and David was helping me getting rid of some of my negative connections. Um, I am looking for a new job. And my key fob went missing because an evil entity didn't like me. So they ended up stealing some stuff from my house. And um I guess you also want to call it, I'm also being hit with a prosperity attack. Like that doesn't work. So they hit you extremely, I get hit extremely differently. It's not like I get microwaved or get messed with because I'm very resilient. Like I might get sick maybe like one day and I just need some sleep and I'm good the next day. But I notice that I don't get attacked the same way that the others get attacked in the SSTE community and the SARSI community. I'm just, I guess you want to say, doing my own little thing away from the SSB community and the SARSI community, like, and I've just been going on, but they do attack you in different ways.
Oh yeah, and for you, it's your
Mhm.
path. You have a different focus. That's why Spirit just set it up that way with the people around you, Michael or David. What I would suggest to any like Michael with your people that are getting on a show. I know like targeting can get really rough at times, and you get hit with that mental bomb. What you do is I just put it like if we're doing a talk and I'm getting hit like at the 2024 conference. As I was talking, I noticed I was getting hit with V2K. So what I did is I just visualized it going into a hypothetical box, and the V2K bot thought it was hitting hitting me, and I made it think that as I was talking, and I just kind of stepped outside of myself and still continued to talk as if I was like my own like marionette or my own like hand puppet or something, and that's how I had to do it. It doesn't work forever. It's kind of in a pinch that you can do it. You can't maintain it for hours and hours and hours, but I managed to do that while I was talking, so I didn't go boo or do anything like that while I was talking. I did that at the current one in 2025 Disclosure Now conference. I noticed there was some little bit there as well, so I just set it into I call it a hypothetical box, and then I just make them think there's something going on. And people sometimes use this as a form of protection, where you make the enemy think that a certain narrative in your head is actually you when it's not you. So if some wayward scanner comes by, or alien or human scans you, they think that's your story when it's not. I've done things like that. She's done things like that. My mother's done things like that too. So I just started using these tools. So if anybody, if you're scheduled for a show, what you do if something like that hits, you don't have to quit. You just visualize the hypothetical getting hit, and it just keeps getting targeted while you still continue to talk. Not easy, mind you, but it is doable in a pinch. And it's a kind of a bitch to maintain it. But you can get at least an hour out of it. And then you're running on fumes after that and you want to collapse. But it takes some energy to form a hypothetical. But you, Audrey, you're in a totally different wavelength because Spirit has you running a completely different mission in that area. It's similar but different. And it also depends. Some people have come to me and said, "Chris, we're not getting targeted like this." I said, "Because your path's different." So, well, the reason your oversoul was incarnated to begin with differs. So, and I've noticed that time and again. I've seen people, believe it or not, have what's called a timeout lifetime. And I'm thinking, okay, these are lucky bastards right
Yeah,
here
and
because timeout lifetimes they're not common. And it's like you have no karmic baggage, you have no lessons, you have none of these things, and you're just sitting there doing nothing. And it's like, okay, how did you end up penning
How do I
this?
get one of those?
Yeah, it's like, okay, how? And it took me a while to contemplate, how this was actually even going on. It's like, and I'm talking to a person that
well,
had this.
Earth
I'm
used to
going,
be a vacation. Well,
yeah,
before Earth was a school, it was a vacation planet.
Right?
yeah, yeah.
And
You're going to Risa now at the moment, apparently.
yeah, it was a
Yeah.
vacation planet. It was a tropical paradise. I had a lady on my channel that talked about it, and she's from the Lyre, and she's like, yeah, a lot of ETs before the human race came around, like Earth was a party planet. It was a place where you could come and just have a good time as a soul, whereas a young little soul. And now it turned into a school.
Yay, school.
So no more fun stuff, and it's like you have to like start learning some stuff, but once in a while you get one of those. And but yeah, it's definitely kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
Um
Mm. What's interesting, Chris, is what I do is if I know in advance, I will put my guest in a pocket of space that's not in this universe, but it's not in another universe. It's like a voided area to where nobody can find them. And I'm like, just rest, regenerate yourself, rejuvenate your energy. Let's talk again in an hour. Let's see where we're at. And usually that helps get them calmed and centered and doing what they need to do to protect themselves. But sometimes it's like they're like last night, my friend was like, I want to do it, but I know I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not feeling my best. And this really rattled me. And I was like, so let's postpone it. And so we pushed it back because I'm like, you're not disappointing me. The only way you would disappoint me is if you go on the show and you are like hurting yourself to do it because you think you're disappointing me. And that's the disappointment. And she goes, yeah, you're right. Yeah, let's, we just were like, yeah, we'll postpone. And I'm easy going, if the show goes, it goes. If not, it doesn't. But I used to be of the mindset of everybody tunes in for an hour. So I will sit there and ramble for an hour. And on Tuesday night's show, I think it was like 19 minutes, and I was like, y'all know what? I've covered everything for this week. Let's I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm not gonna waste my time. Let's just cut it here kind of attitude. And I was like, I'm okay with this.
Hmm.
Episode went. It's not an hour. Who cares? Still went. And that's something new I noticed from being at the conference is I no longer hold myself to the mindset of you have to do this because it's what people want. I'm now in the space of I'm okay with it being this, and if that's what it's gonna look like, that's it. And I'm done. We're done. sorry it's 20 minutes, but not sorry because I'd rather have 20 good minutes than 20 good minutes with 40 minutes of repetitive. Everyone's like, what in the world is going on?
Is he having a stroke? What's going on? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Well,
Yeah.
it's real
yeah,
interesting, Michael, that you talked about that space you created. So for us, we do the law of run at every beginning, right? Because we're trying to create that space. So I love the idea that what you're trying to do, especially if someone's putting their finger up and saying, I'm having a hard time, is that you're trying to create the space to do exactly what we do the way we do it. You're doing it in your own way to create a safe space where malevolence, mischievous can leave the person alone, leave the soul alone, so that these conversations can be basically had in peace. Exactly what we do, but you're doing it in your own way. And I can't encourage that enough for people to find a way, because what you also want to do is, from your guest or whatever, make the intention known of what you're doing so they can agree to it, that you want to create a space, you know what I mean? Not just you without them knowing, putting them in a bubble, but creating a bubble with somebody. And then you'll be amazed that people will feel better, that it will drift away, especially if you ask for, again, we do benevolence with no conflicting agenda. So I love what you did. I hope you expand upon it a little bit more, because again, I think it really does what we would like to model, which we try to model, is how do you take everyone's intention and then create the best bubble that you can create to be able to move forward with conversations that are important to be had, but also judging, because sometimes people aren't ready. Just bottom line, they're not ready, and that does need to be honored. So I think I just say kudos to you doing that, and just expand upon it a little bit more, and you'll probably find that it does help you even more in a pinch. You know what I mean? To do things like that.
I do, and it's interesting because it's something I just naturally do, and I don't ever like sit there and I wasn't trained to do it. And I think the reason I'm bringing it up too is so people, when they hear about us doing this, I hear a lot of times people go, "Oh my God, you can do that?" I'm like, "Well, you could too if you tried, I'm sure." And we all get in this mindset trap of, oh, this person has been doing it for this long and they know this and this is why they can do that and this person's new. I can't do that. It's like you psych yourself out, and it's like, yeah, I mean, we all naturally have the ability. It's just we don't nurture it and don't bring awareness to it. And I didn't even know to call it. I just naturally was doing it, and then somebody goes and was telling me, "Oh, you need to create a pocket," and I was like, "Well, that's what I do. I guess that's what I'll call it now." Now I have a name for it. I
Well,
never felt the
you
need.
could also just simply refer to it as your meeting room. I mean,
Yeah,
because that's what you're trying to create. You're trying to create a space for the meeting that is healthy for the ones coming into it, right? I mean, so whatever you want to call it, I think it's wonderful. Again, people intuitively can know, and it's just about, since no one came in with an owner's manual of how to do any of this, we're all having to figure it out. And then the goal is, how do we support each other? And then we can all come back with feedback. Oh, that one works. Oh, that one works. Oh, that one not so much. I don't think I have that one down pat yet. And this is basically how we'll all do it. It was easy just to say, to meet you and to know from your energies that you are a type of person that we wanted to hang out and do things with. It's just that kind of simple, for everyone here, brought a lot of joy. I know I keep telling you guys that because I want you to believe it. It really brings a lot of joy to me for us to sit here. I can put myself right back into that energy state that when we were there, I'm feeling just as excited, just as happy, just loving to hear what people are saying. I feel the exact same way. And that's the goal. And that will be the goal, Michael, for you to be able to share that energy with your guests in the space that you create. And it'll be a great gift.
And I think, and Audrey, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but I think it was either the night of the costumes or the night before. We were getting ready to do something, and you were standing at a column, and I walked up, and you looked at me and you go, "You have mantis eyes." I remember that conversation so clearly. And I was like, in the
Yeah,
moment, going,
when I was at the conference, all my energy was like magnetized, like I don't know how do you say like a lot. So I was actually seeing a lot of beings and people's star energy coming out from them. I know that it sometimes changes, but their core one comes out. So I was seeing a bunch of those. Some of them is kind of hard to see because I never met those types of beings before, but I was like, I know that you're a mantis, that's a gray, that's a hybrid. And I was like, oh, so it's just really nice to like meet everybody. And yeah, whenever I go to these conferences, my I guess natural abilities, because I know that I can see aura fields, it's just that I can just like, oh, I can see this, I can see this, but I always act on permission. So if someone gives me permission, I can see a whole lot more, but I was just acting like what are they just gonna freely show me so that and so I
yeah,
saw a lot, but like once people give me permission to like read them at the conference and it'd be like, there's a lot going.
yeah.
So
But
that
I was
happened
like,
last year at the conference too, so
yeah, I was just thinking how cool it was that we were in the space to where you actually flat out just laid that out there. And I was like, yeah, that, and be receptive to it. And you go to any other conference and you would never have that conversation.
Exactly, exactly. I saw several people there that I knew were ETs. I knew that, I mean, actual, like in the flesh ones that were there. Like at least I
Some
counted
of them
some.
are doing a horrible job hiding.
What was that?
Some of them are doing a horrible job hiding. I mean, they could have been wearing a rubber nose and glasses and would have been better.
Yep, I saw that. That's like they don't. I noticed that also they don't. If you want to see an alien in disguise, other than the bad, like the disguises, sometimes it's also sometimes the social like idioms and stuff get screwed up. Like if it's an insectoid, what they'll do is sometimes they'll take the place of a foreigner that speaks a different language, so that they can kind of psych somebody out, going, "Oh, it just must be a cultural thing. They don't recognize this bit of humor or something." It is just not from here. So I noticed this like immediately where there was a dream I had years ago where I saw this. I was inside this house communicating with this insectoid lady that was in a dress and a wig. And I'm going, okay, you look kind of weird that way. But this was I was basically being shown, yeah, this is a bad disguise, because out here, this person, the way she was talking to me was like this really hyper behavior. And then Joanna recognized that as somebody that she knew from work at one point. So I was basically saying, okay, this is an insectoid lady in disguise over here, made to look human over here, but the verbiage was different. The way she spoke was pretty different than us, trying to assimilate our cultural differences and language differences and all this other such. And I've seen this with aliens too. Aside from the some of the bad disguises, or if you see through the holographic disguises, they like she saw in Salem a guy that was walking around that looked like a goat version of Harry Potter walking around, and and I didn't see him, but I found out this was an actual race out there. They look like a goat, but they have like this whole like magical, mystical, wizarding like community look to them, and that's an actual people. They called themselves like the Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah, I believe they called themselves. They've come to me a couple times actually, and they just look like Isaac calls them goat midgets. So it's like, but he goes, "Oh, the Harry Potter goat midgets are here." So it's like. So it's like, and they're like, "Excuse me," but to him, or they ignore him. But yeah, well, I thought that was actually pretty funny. Just like in somebody's session, but one by the name of Shran came through, or Shran, and then Isaac the whole time during the whole session's going Shran like that, doing that, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
"Oh, we're cracking
remembers
fun."
there's this so a lot of people like to post cat stuff on TikTok. And I'm mostly, how do you want to say, like, I'm more like the caring, like, ooh, go and explore, have a good time. And so on TikTok, they have this cat. So everybody who understands cats, there's a thing called the cat distribution system, where a random homeless cat will show up when you need a cat in your life. And so there's like a little mantras. And so you have you heard of the song called The Land Down Under? And there's like a little phrase. It's like, I met a lady. She made me nervous. She gave me a gave me a meal and a place to stay.
That's funny. Yeah, I've run into cats where when you need them, they show up too, and it'll be like seemingly totally random like that, and then there'll be a song associated with them too, a weird one too, and then you'll find out that soul is actually setting that up, like introducing themselves, kind of like a wrestler with like introduction music. They kind of do, they kind of usher in like that, you know. And I just find that funny. And it's happened a lot with either a dog or a cat, but it's usually a cat that happens
But
with.
if you're really wanting to see your skills and what you can see or not see, I highly recommend Salem, Massachusetts at Halloween. I really do.
Galactics are everywhere there. I mean,
It will
it's
be
like,
very cold. We froze like you wouldn't believe, but it is a place worth spending several days there because they do a lot of festivities, with Halloween there in that area. And people dress up in amazing costumes, but it will give you a chance to just kind of people watch to, see if you do notice anything in particular. It's a great bucket list thing to be able to put on your bucket list to do sometimes with some friends or
Mhm.
meeting people there.
It's pretty
I would
awesome. Yeah,
recommend
it's
it.
pretty awesome.
Now,
Yeah.
a good way to spot the ETs is if you don't actually have the psychic abilities is watch the way the head and neck moves. If you look at another person, if you look at a regular human, the ETs, they just can't get it right. They like understand it in concept, but in practice, they just
Yeah,
can't get that.
I'm the one that stares or does a double take, and I'll just like stare at them for a little bit and be like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see that where the head, like the neck muscles flex strange or something like that, and
Yeah.
I'll just be like, "What?" And I saw a lady one time where the neck was moving strange, and I just looked and went, and she went, well, did something like that, and I was like, "Okay, you're an alien." Okay, but and then they just take off, you know. But when you think that to them, but I find it very funny where we run into that every now and again. I mean, in this neighborhood we haven't, but we did here, and I will say this though, we probably are approaching channel time here because I feel a conduit building, but there is in this area in Virginia Beach, I was sensing some ET presence down by the waterfront, and anybody's been outside the firmament barrier outside of Earth or in the Passive Van Allen belt, they have a certain energy signature, whether they are human or ET. There's something that just changes slightly fundamentally about the energetic field. And I can always pick up on a space traveler of any kind because of that. It's like Highlander, where all the mortals sense each other, kind of thing. So we're kind of in and around you, like they described in the TV show, in the movies. Well, what happened is I sensed three of them down there. I'm going, okay, and I figured I'd just put the hello out there. Later on that evening and the next day, the forest people come up to me going, yeah, those guys down there at the waterfront wanted us to let you know that don't go looking for them. And it's like, why? Well, then they like their jobs and they don't want to have to leave. So can through the whole summer, can you not go in the amusement park area over there? Just saying. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll leave them alone. But because
Yeah, like you want to be like, let's be a social butterfly to our galactic visit.
I wanted to, and they wanted to too, but there's certain rules in
Yeah.
place, and they didn't want to break any of them. It was like I was like, okay, fine. It said you might want to camouflage that energy signature then if you don't want me seeing you. No, you're. One of them spoke to me once in telepathic and said, "Well, you're slightly different than the rest of the rabble around here. We normally don't have to worry about that. We didn't expect that. That." But I just found it hilarious myself.
I think that's why they show themselves to me. I'll see them. And Chris, for whatever, this is the truth. I'm like looking at something, and Chris is somehow, for that second, preoccupied with his phone or doing something. There's like this all, I don't think it's malevolent. I think it's benevolent to distract Chris. Distract Chris at all costs, because he'd be like you, what you were saying, Audrey. Hello, my people, nice to see you, right?
Hello, my alien friend. I would be like the guy with diarrhea of the mouth. So it's like I'd be like, hey, and so they distract me. So it's they're like,
if they can, they'll distract. So.
yeah. I just find that hilarious, and it's been a
Oh
while.
my goodness, it reminds me, what was it? This was on there was this show, I don't know what it's called, but it's this anime show where there's a bunch of four guys, they all drink beer in the front and side of their lawn.
Oh,
And
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. Yeah.
yeah, King of the Hill. And I think one of the guy goes and it's be like, "Are you guys that hippie group or like that cult?" And it's like, "We're not a cult. We're just spreading love, light." And it's like, "Yeah, that's the cult that we're talking."
Oh yeah, I remember that show. That was a great show, and that was great.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I watched that all the time with like The Simpsons, Family Guy, all those things. You want to talk about disclosure? It's in all of those. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of The Simpsons, I wanted to ask you, do you think he actually has the time travel, or do you think he's doing a seeding method, which would mean like he has an idea and he's putting it out in the conscious so the conscious will grow it, as opposed to him actually watching it from the future? I'm referring to Matt Groening.
Oh yeah, I feel it's sometimes it's passed down from people that are using like a chronovisor. Sometimes it was also the Montauk Project that also seeded some of that as well. The best example is the episode called Bart to the Future that was sometime in 2003 when that came out. And he went ahead in time to 2016, and here's President Trump being elected and going down the escalator in that episode, and that was exactly what took place. So some people argue maybe Trump mimicked that. No, what it was the Montauk people in the chair were actually seeing ahead in time, along with people with chronovisor technology were looking ahead as well. It's Matt Groening, I believe, or Matt Groening was, I believe he was getting it from the consciousness, but I believe he was also seeing it from a future timeline or possible variations. And that's also how the Cabal communicates and the groups communicate through The Simpsons as well. That's why it's been on so long. That's why it outlived its spinoff Futurama. So yeah, they tried it with Futurama, it didn't work. They kept it with The Simpsons, but yeah, I thought that's actually quite interesting. Okay, now I'm really getting a ping here. So, okay, somebody's telling me to shut up and just do this. Okay.
I'll just say real quick, another one is when you're walking and you see a crowd and it's like your mind goes, okay, I can sense there's 8 people there, and then you blink and there's all of a sudden 7. I know there was 8. Where did that one go? And there's nowhere they could have disappeared to.
Yeah, that's usually if they're an ET, they've gone into like a different frequency or something where you're not perceiving them at that point. I've run into that myself multiple times. Even with the rabble that I deal with, like Isaac, I've seen him in public at least once. Lena Vessa 2 times. Force people multiple times. So yeah, it's funny. And in a crowd, they're there watching, even if they're in a disguise or some of them are well disguised if they're around me, because if I don't notice them. But in public, we had that lady at the Walmart show up that time that was actually an ET, Native American looking ET. but that was dressed kind of odd, and then she walked kind of differently than everybody else, and had that.
Well, you just knew that, we just knew
Yeah.
that it was much higher vibrational, it was kind of like an ancient Mayan.
And she was an ancient Mayan, and then she told us later telepathically she was of a group called the Mayan Federation, part of like a subset of the Galactic Federation. She was there doing some other mission. We just happened to notice her there. She was kind about it, but she slowly walked away so that I could actually see she was different than everybody else. Like, okay, I'll leave, but slowly. Like somebody doing the annoying slow walk, like, knowing that she had to. Okay, now I'm
You
Yeah,
don't
I
see
always
me
kind of like
slow.
wonder. I always like wonder because I know that we have galactic visitors, and I know that they are starting to do drive-in movie theaters, or like, like public movie theaters, so they don't get that access to some of our media, but
hmm
they get access to some of it through like when we have like public displays, like a public movie being displayed, or a drive-in movie theater where they're allowed to like go and venture in, or like sneak in, and like, and so I'm just like wondering to be like, I'm pretty sure that they are just laughing or being like this is what they depict. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll go to movie theaters. We've spotted them there too. Okay. Now I really have to do this. Hang on a sec. Who's wanting to speak? I know Isaac. You were giving comments in the background, but I don't think it's you this time. Let's see. Uh, Next time I
More
shop.
folk.
No, let's see. Lena or Vesa, one of you two, I believe. Oh, Vesa. Okay. All right. Let's see. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. All right. You can come through. Excuse, I was the one tapping my foot to get him to talk. Usually, these senses of urgency have to do with timetables, time frames, availability of people, time frame that the show's going on, and also availability of the conduit. So, you three don't know who I am. My name is Vesa. I am currently on a world known as Lanulos. It is actually intersecting the dimensional space of Earth through the central nexus you call your dimension Midgard. Uh, and this is in a dimension that some people would judge it as both either another planet or another universe dimension. It has an aperture in Galactic Federation territory that is a planetary construct that is connected by a wormhole that connects to where we have occupied parts of the Earth in your state of Nevada, up in the Valley of Fire area, and stretching down to the Vegas Strip and over to Red Rock Canyon. This is also, you've heard of the Tall Whites of Nellis Air Force Base. They are our relatives. So, except they're slightly more boring. They're slightly paler and slightly more boring, and they would be the people that would be. We would be out in the fresh air and the sunlight, and they would be in a head wrap and mask in the middle of the daytime on the beach. Because they're afraid of bugs. Because the bee sting could actually hurt them, even a mosquito bite, to an extent. But anyway, instead of babbling, I will go into questions for the crowd here today.
So let me just ask real quick. So the subject matter was talking about leaving the higher frequency, coming into the lowers, our, remembrance of that, how to get back in it. But as they're thinking of questions, any comments on that topic?
Well, yes. They're at the conference. This is actually quite interesting. There was an eclectic bunch of people there. They had to remain in a neutral space with one another because these conferences have to be that neutral space. Even if there's malintended beings there, they must conform to a neutrality accord, because where people gather in a setting that has been designated as a disclosure type of setting, all the beings must be neutral, whether they have their channeled person, human, individual talking for them, and even if maybe they're fibbing or not fibbing, they still have to actually conformed to a non-violent accord, neutrality accord. There were a couple groups there that were questionable, let's just put it that way, and spooked the hell out of the forest people. But this is also why Elaine and I were not present, except very briefly there. It was Isaac and Thorsten that were representing the Elanulosians there at the time, kind of like a weirdly disjointed United Nations. And having Thorsten and Isaac represent something is slightly more disjointed. So, in any respect, we would have, Elaine and I would have, but the negative blonde Nordics that were there, some of the more aggressive reptilian types scared the hell out of us. So we were not there. The forest people were slightly irked as well, and some of the inhabitants of that skull. So we actually steered clear of some of this, and we just let Isaac take the bitch slap for it. So Thorsten knew to step back. Isaac did not. So we just saw that as just a cue not to show up too often. But the point I'm trying to make is going from an enriched environment like that, energetically, then you go into one that isn't as enriched. No matter what you do in certain areas, it just won't change the constant of energy there unless there's more of a mass co-created effort to actually change this, or if it's an earth shift of some kind or dimensional shift, timeline shift, things of that nature. Now you can co-create that and plant the seeds, of course, but like with your orgone pieces, well, shungite gridding, crystal gridding, all of these things, of course you're improving these things in millimeters and centimeters. But going from that really enriched environment where everyone was just, may not have always been on the same page philosophically, but they were on the same page in that enriched energetic environment, regardless of the drama that took place, or regardless of the drama that other beings were causing and other people were causing. Did not matter one iota, because it always circled back around to that more enriched unification. When you leave something like this, it starts to bring about a depression. It starts to bring about, as you said, David, being stuck behind a horse and buggy. It is essentially that, where you're now back to your humdrum, drab life. This is why people that go on vacations, they're actually experiencing this, and they go back to work. And they're like, well, back to the old salt mines. That is actually the PG-13 response. We've heard a variety of expletives spread across the globe in multiple languages of people going back to work. So, and this is where sometimes we will encounter people at their highest and at their lowest. We want to see what make people tick, so therefore we can also aid in enriching that environment as well. So I hope this answered.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have questions?
I do. Thank you for talking to us. I really am honored by that. I'm wondering, what kind of art do you and your people kind of enjoy, like art and entertainment? Because we were talking about movie theaters before. I was wondering, what do you guys have?
Mm. On Lanulos, there are humans that are here with us,
Oh,
believe it or not, that have settled here. If you look at the work of Woodrow Derenberger and Indrid Cold, when Indrid brought him to Lanulos, there, and now his daughter, there are people that have settled and stayed as well, if their life missions are allowing for this, you see, or if they're not in some side program or something. They were not, it was more of a lineage thing in that respect, that some of them came from there. But in this respect, yes, movies, we love movies, TV shows of that, like say some of the sci-fi nature, even some of our people, since your people have brought it to us, even some of your weird, stupid and creepy reality shows. So we have that to watch, as well as there's a lot of artwork, painting, sculpture, and things of this nature. Drive-in movies? Yes, this is a place where we have found a galactic loophole, where we literally could sit there, watch a movie with everyone around us, and still being in abeyance, or not abeyance, but obeyance of what your Star Trek program calls the Prime Directive, Order Number One. Whereas we cannot step in and directly interfere, but there are loopholes. And say if something went wrong at, say, a said event, we could actually do something about it within that kind of neutral vibe where everybody's just kind of vibing and enjoying the movie. And one of the reasons they took away some of the drive-in theaters because some of your governmental bodies noticed that some of our people, and also other ET races were indeed actually utilizing these as neutral gathering spaces that were outside of galactic treaties and treatises, and that was the loophole. Regular movie theaters does that work as well? Yes, even Spirit joins you there. Even when Michael Jackson was coming through for him, he said that he sits in theaters sometimes with people and watches regular people from Spirit, and we do the same. He's been
Yeah,
accused
we
of being
still
an
have one. We have one last drive-in movie theater in our state, and it's still pretty operational. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's actually still around, but it gets pretty popular. But yeah,
Yeah, I have a
they're
drive-in
still
theater right down the
around.
street from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one by us too.
Yes, it is ET's doing that some of these are still around because they came from a period in the times essentially that Indrid Cold and them were actually walking the surface of the earth as a searcher looking for those that he could pretty much bend some of the rules with, let's just say. And it was came in that time frame, and people like him went, I think we have a winner here. And it wasn't just him. I'm not going to give him all the credit, but it was a lot of us that said, okay, we have to keep this around. It's some of your governmental bodies, your men in black, other people such as this negative ET groups that went, no, let's take it away. And let's all keep people in their house, watching movies in their home, and then they will be less likely to see some of our people. So therefore, we are basically putting our foot down and saying, we prefer to socialize even if people don't know exactly where we're from. This is why some of those venues still exist at all.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a two-part question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
First part is I'm curious to know if you could update us on the pyramid we deactivated in the ocean with the dolphins, how that is, if that's been neutralized and is totally taken care of. And my second part is we're all concerned about our ascension and growth. What can we do to help the animals and nature as well?
Mm. Yes, the pyramid, yes, has been deactivated. They were utilizing an old Lemurian piece of technology from the times of the war between Atlantis and them, even though it was much older than that. And it has been deactivated, and that negative portion has been put in a different dimensional space as to what took place. And it was actually the animals and also the fairies that alerted all of you, especially you, Audrey, to the urgency behind this, and they're very, very appreciative. Now, with the animals, how you help the animals, they will, if you see one that's injured, of course, help that particular animal, like if a car has injured him or hurt or a lost dog or beings of that nature, a lost kitty, things of that nature. Now, if you see a sign like on a pole where somebody's cat or dog has ran away, this is for pets, of course. You just put it out to benevolent source creator that that particular animal is found at a particular moment in time on the day that you happen to be existing in at a particular time, like say if it's 1:30 in the afternoon, you say 2 o'clock or something like that, and whatever time zone you're in. And some people think this is silly. No, this is not silly. This actually makes a waypoint for the animal to find their way home again, or another ET that is nearby that could possibly telepathically guide the animal back home again. Now, for non-domesticated animals in nature, of course, you basically are putting feelings out of their well-being and their they're being balanced and they're being loved by you. They may not act as such because they're wild in an instinct, but their soul recognizes that you actually care for them. Like even an injured squirrel, or say if some animal is trapped and you see like a one of those plastic can loop things on them, or like they saw a roadrunner in Arizona wearing one of your masks from the COVID time frame. Things of that nature. It was hanging off an ear or off a leg or something like that, or a string was hanging off the leg. They, even though the animal, of course, wouldn't allow them to remove it, the soul of the animal recognizes that there is something that they're being cared about and cared for. And that is where these things begin, where you gain this back, the heart space back for situations such as these, or even abuse situations for animals, things of this nature. But also grounding with nature, becoming in balance with nature around you, becoming and learning from how your ancestors were, regaining this knowledge of grounding with the earth and knowledge of taking care, not necessarily just taking care of the earth, but being in balance with. This is also how you help the animals. This is also eventually relearning these things and bringing these things back into this space and time continuum will indeed help your animal friends. And as for ascension, it's not really going up into energy. What this is there's not really an ascending or ascension taking place. It is you're ending up on a particular time schism or timeline that fits your frequency. So in this instance, you're changing your perspectives and your perceptions as time goes on. Because would the you from 10 years ago recognize the you now? No, because you have changed that much in that short amount of time. Even in 1 year, a lot can happen in that space. Would the version of you a year ago recognize you? No, because you would look like two completely different people, because that's where you've expanded and the frequencies expanded. So people mistook this as poof, bursting into energy because of the vast dichotomy between the past and the present. And nobody notices this because, of course, you're not speaking to your future self or your past self in that way, unless you've been in some weird time travel project. But in this particular way, as people go on, you will notice that you are not even close to the person you were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now, then you need to ground more? As he was explaining in the beginning of the show about regaining computer skills, that is a reallocation of that frequency and the regrounding of self there. The changing in perspectives and perceptions and learning about all the other things as he went along so that he could present them to the audience that he speaks to now, as not as harsh as this may seem from all the crap that happened. But with this, he gains a certain perspective, as do all people gaining a certain perspective, as not only just walking in the shoes of the people around them, but also recognizing that not only actions have consequences, but thoughts have consequences, energetics and frequencies have consequences, but also regrounding the better part of your oversoul and the better parts of your avatar in the I am presence in the here and now is what is needed now more than ever. I know this was long-winded, but I hope this answered.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
What practices could we do to be grounding specifically?
The barefoot on the ground outside works, and if you're brave enough, like Lanyalosians are, naked under the sun, we do this. This is a cultural thing on our part, but it does work. And some humans share this, some do not. But this actually will quickly ground you. The feet on the ground, the sun hitting skin. This actually does it pretty much immediately. But in lieu of that not being available, of course, beaches do it, sand, sea. This is why they took people away from that during COVID. It would have healed a lot of these abnormalities. Now, they found this out in Japan, where you can earth a house with just a simple copper wire and a pipe. Designate a room as a grounding room or a temple space. And they found that those Japanese tatami mats were made out of those reeds. The Japanese weave those reeds together. A great grounding material. Shungite is another one, where if you have a rubber mat like he has his feet on right now, this actually works. But also grounding, getting out into nature for lengthy periods of time, getting into the ocean where there's a lot of salt water, like you guys were doing there at the conference. These are all good grounding techniques, and visualizing those roots going down into the ground and making sure and visualizing your feet energy centers being flat and firm to the earth. Grounding is extremely important right now. There's grounding stones like your hematite, things of this nature. He's wearing hematite rings on both index fingers, so to be able to ground the channel. These are natural stones, also amber that heals and grounds. These are all different things, but in lieu of not having stones, the aforementioned techniques work.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Yeah, if no one else has one, I don't mean to be mob, if anyone else has one, I've been drawing while we've been talking, man, getting all these visuals, creatures coming in, and usually I can understand who these are, but I'm drawing like three things and I don't know who they are. Do you have any idea of what's going on?
Yes, since you're highly telepathic, David, they are there's some little beings that are coming to visit. Some are nature beings, some are interlopers trying to interrupt the conversation and make things awkward, let's just say.
Okay, that's the guy I'm looking at then. Yeah.
Yes, and they can be a pain in the ass. So some naturally have the ability to disrupt things psionically, even if they're small. And some spider-like beings have a natural bioluminescent ability within the etherical to jam technology and to jam psionics. Sometimes bad guys will send them in as a really weird pet. Sometimes there'll be these little gremlin little creatures going around doing the same with their little unusually large frontal lobe. They not to be mean to anybody over looks or anything, but these guys some were engineered to cause problems that way. They are barely sentient in some areas. Other ones are highly intelligent and sentient and naturally that way, and they want to cause problems. Others are just simply curious and they want to hear the conversation going on. It's important that you don't lump all of them together accidentally, or lest you offend one of the other more innocent ones. Some were just wanting either disrupt the conversation or they just want to hear the conversation.
Mhm.
Anybody else? I'm going to give her some last words for today's conversations if we're no more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, last words.
Okay, so yeah, this has actually been quite interesting. People think it's a mite strange that he channels the female beings, but we've been around him quite often, and and we knew both of me and Elena have known both of them in other time frames in the past as well. So it's Isaac and Thorsten and the rest of them. So it's actually been quite fun doing this. If you spotted me, I would be roughly his height. He is 6'1", 6'1", and long blonde hair. And sometimes you'll see blue eyes or you'll see little squiggle eyes. This tells you that I have some lineage from what's known as the knee of Cassiopeia as well. So there's a bit of that in my lineage. Elena is part human, part that as well. I just have slightly more of it, and you would hear me have more of a Persian accent if you spotted me. So there'll become a time where we will all be out in the open together. When some of that slightly more pain in the ass legislation gets passed from the Galactic Senate. Audrey, you know probably how slow they are, better than anybody else. They tend to shout at each other quite a bit. But anyway, I won't get into that. That making fun of them tends to get psionic repercussions. But anyway, when somebody gets mad. But anyway, I will end this here and thank you for having me on tonight.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, she was showing me images of the Galactic Senate where every now and again some groups were shouting at each other. So it was like the Force people said it can become a loud pain in the ass. So kind of like Parliament. So here over in England. But yeah, so that was actually quite interesting. But yeah, I don't know if anybody has anything else to add before we close this channel down.
No, I just hope we continue it, guys. I think for all of us, getting together every now and then like this is just going to be good for our souls. So
Mhm.
I
I
want to
agree.
Yeah, and I want Audrey, when we all talk next, I would love for you to introduce your book. For everyone. I'm real excited for you to do that, but spend some time, you know what I mean, talking about that too, because you did such a phenomenal job. So
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I had to like re-upload it on Amazon just to like add like tables of contents, just do like a little bit of editing. But yeah, it's up on Amazon if people want to check out my book. The other interesting thing is that we're having our second human council of spirituality on Sunday. So it's sort of like a roundtable discussion, just talking about stuff, and that would be kind of very interesting. So if people want to tune in for that and hear a little discussion about what's going on in our community or have a interesting discussion, we are also looking for people who are interested in joining our human council. So that's also in the table as well if people are interested to learn more.
All
They
right,
can always reach
that'd be
out.
great. Yeah, and if everybody else wants to tell how people can look up your material, I know David, you have a YouTube, and of course, Michael, you have both YouTube and Rumble, I believe. So,
Yeah, no, I don't actually have a YouTube or Rumble yet. That'll be by the end of the month if everything goes to plan. For getting a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Facebook under David Purcell, or you can go to Instagram and type in Cactus Smile 39, and that's where I'm at.
all
Um, yeah.
right. Michael?
I am on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok, Instagram. I am on, what am I on? Rumble. I'm on Spotify, Podbean. Pretty much, if they allow, I've only so far had one social media deny my show, so I'm like, pretty much if I can share it out there, it's being shared out there.
No, good, good. Do you have like a central website anybody can find you on yet?
I do, and I just happen to have the address for it is Michael Koff, paranormal investigator and podcaster.com. And the funny story around why it's so long is I thought I was creating the search, like the keyword search for the website. And then I found out that was the website. So that's why it's so long.
that's great.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Audrey, I know, yeah, yours is Starseed Netlink as well. I
Yes,
want to make
that's
sure.
the name of my YouTube channel. People can go to my YouTube channel. I have my business email as starcnetlink@gmail.com. I'm also on Telegram. I'm also on TikTok if people want to come and find me on TikTok. And but yeah, everything should be on my YouTube. My book um should be in the description video of some of my YouTube videos or my more recent ones, but that is on Amazon for paperback and Kindle. I do know that I decreased the price of it by switching the quality of the book, so hopefully that will help people to have more access to it.
Yeah, get the information.
But yeah, it's all out there. Thank you. But yeah, hopefully you guys can tune in to our next council meeting, so that's gonna be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that'd be great. For everybody's information, though, I got banned from TikTok right when I started.
He didn't even get started and he got banned.
So I uploaded something, bam. So it's like immediately. So yeah, I just found it kind of funny at the time. But I think we're at a point where we can close the circle now. So at this moment in time, I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Bye bye now. I do also want to say, the whole conversation that we had with the Force people about memory and frequency being the same thing. Frequency is memory, memory is frequency. When people tap into sometimes too much of the SSP stuff, sometimes that brings about a very low vibrational type of situation. That's how I got sick. I got targeted, but my frequency is so low that those insectoids got me with the COVID green glow nanovirus back then. But anyway, won't go into that. But what I will do is, if people remember the Malcolm McDowell version of Fantasy Island, where you find out Rourke has a daughter, and he when she leaves the island, she forgets. When she comes back, she remembers her entire childhood and remembers him, but it takes a minute to kick in. That's how it is with Lanulos. I mean, does the government also have that the injections where they make it so people forget, like people that have been in a program, like they forget a project. Like there's a famous one where a guy, an operator or director of a project, took an injection, and he was going home, he was beginning to forget the entire thing. Yeah, The Incredibles 2, where you see the daughter's boyfriend, the dad injects him so he forgets, and ends up not remembering the daughter at all, and she has to kind of get him to come around and fall in love all over again. And he talks to his three-letter agency CIA buddy, and he goes, "Man, this is not an exact science." That's the government version. The other one's frequency. And you see in Doctor Who where he puts his hands on people and then gets and changes the frequency. That's what he's doing. He's resuppressing memory, like what he does, what the David Tennant version does to Donna when she becomes the Metacrisis. If you don't know what I mean, you're not a Doctor Who nerd or a sci-fi nerd, but go look it up. David Tennant era, Catherine Tate era, not the new stuff, the older stuff from, I believe it was 2000. I want to say 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. No, excuse me, it was 2008 or 9. Anyway, David Tennant when he was first on there. But memory is frequency, frequency is memory. You also saw the Peter Capaldi version doing it as well. And when I was in a place that was when I was on Lanulos with Lanabessa, I remembered a lot of other stuff there. Having been removed, coming back to Midgard, sometimes some of that leaves you, but there was also government that was erasing memories as well. So I got double whammy, frequency-wise and chemically. So that's usually how people's minds are fucked up too, because they're getting the psionics, they're getting the chemical with the chemtrails. So they don't want you accessing these frequencies. That's why they do this. Like what we said about SpongeBob, where Plankton was making that chemical to make everybody as dumb as Patrick Star, spills it on himself, becomes retarded. It rains over the whole population, makes everybody retarded, and then Sally Squirrel sends them through the education system to re-educate them. That is propaganda right there, or truth, but a bit of propaganda. But my point for reiterating this is, in the media, is somebody's trying to get you to access that frequency through memory. So you remember that you've been fucked with through these disclosures in the media. And all of these things that I've mentioned that seem out of place. This is how my brain works. This is why Ragnar, when he comes through, he calls me Rain Man. So I remember all these things. And this is why Ozzy said in the other program that he goes, "I have not seen a subconscious so full of shit in a long time. It's cluttered, it's facts and figures. This is why I can't always quiet down." Anyway, and get the meditative state like I should, and get that frequency and memory proper. That's part of my thing I gotta work on. That's part of my path. But, again, this is why they do not want you in that state, because as you're accessing a certain frequency, here comes memory back. So, that's another way they take it from you. It's by killing the frequency, chemically dumbing you down. These are the things that can't be allowed. So, both galactically, legislation-wise, and Earth oppressive legislation, and three-letter agency and deep state-wise. So, it is 7:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Thank you. Oh, another reference in Doctor Who in the Matt Smith era with Karen Gillian and the actor played Rory, where the time got rewritten, and Amy remembers the previous timeline. That's how she wishes the Doctor back, and it's the frequency of remembering that brings him back. And then Rory makes a statement later on. He goes, "I remember sometimes." It's frequency. another timeline. Also, Mandela effect. They were making reference to that. So I will leave that here. It is. I don't want to get this too cluttered with these. It is in room as well on the drive. So, right, it is 7:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, August 7th, 2025. Thank you.